Okay, let's unpack this one. Picture this. A spiritual seeker, someone known for being really committed, but he makes this choice that seems, well, a bit strange.
Mm-hmm.
He always avoids the big, bustling city of Savatthi,
Hmm.
even when there are these huge charitable events.
Right, right. Major happenings.
Exactly. Instead, he just sticks to his quiet home village to collect his food for the day. So you have to wonder what's going on there. Is it like attachment or something else entirely?
And it's fascinating, isn't it, how such a simple, consistent act, just where he chose to get his food, could actually spark this really significant conversation, a conversation that leads to a teaching, revealing a core principle of liberation, something you might not expect.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into an ancient story from the Dhammapada commentary. It's the story of Venerable Nigamavāsitissattheravatthu. We're exploring the surprising power of contentment.
A concept that might be much richer, much more active than maybe you first think.
Absolutely. Our mission is to kind of pull out the wisdom from this tale, this counterintuitive wisdom, and see what it really means to be well-informed about inner abundance. So the story kicks off near Savatthi. There's this village, Nigamavāma,
All right.
and that's where this respected monk, Nigamavāsitissattheravatthu, lived. He had a reputation, a monk of few wishes, content, like seclusion, very diligent.
Sounds like a model monk in many ways.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that got people talking. Nigamavāsitissattheravatthu only went for alms in his home village, consistently.
Never to Savatthi.
Never. Even though Savatthi was this major hub, you had figures like Ananda, the famous merchant, chief patron, making huge donations.
Huge Jaina events, yeah.
Or even came Pasanadi Kosala, the ruler, hosting these incredible charitable festivals. Nigamavāsitissattheravatthu just stayed away. So naturally, some of the other monks noticed this.
Mm-hmm. You can imagine them talking.
They reported it to the Buddha. And their take was, well, maybe he's a bit too tangled up with his relatives, sticking to his home turf like that.
That seems like a reasonable guess from the outside, doesn't it?
It does. So the Buddha calls Nigamavāsitissattheravatthu in, asks him, is this true, what the monks are saying?
Okay, the moment of truth.
But Nigamavāsitissattheravatthu just clarifies. He says, nope, no attachment to relatives here. None at all. He just gets enough food. Doesn't matter if it's basic or fancy, just enough to keep him going.
Just sustenance.
Right. And once he has what he needs, he just doesn't see any point in looking for more food. So why go to Savatthi? He puts it really clearly. There is no mingling with relatives for me.
Wow. So a very straightforward explanation.
Totally. And here's the twist. Instead of getting told off for maybe seeming attached or aloof, he gets praised.
Praise.
Yeah. So why? Why was his explanation received so well? What did the Buddha see that the others missed?
That really is the crucial point, isn't it? The Buddha understood the intention behind the action. It wasn't about avoiding the city. It wasn't clinging to family ties.
Okay.
It was this quality of apicchata, genuine, deep contentment, just not desiring more than what's truly necessary to sustain life.
Apicchata. So not wanting much.
Exactly. And this completely flips our usual ideas about, spiritual merit being tied to participating in big public acts or getting lots of offerings.
Right. It's not about the external stuff.
Precisely. And the Buddha actually says, this contentment is my tradition, my lineage, which is huge.
His lineage. Wow.
Yeah. It shows this isn't just some personal quirk of Nigamavāsitissa's. It's fundamental to the path. It really underlines that spiritual progress isn't measured by outward appearances or showing up at grand events. It's about your inner state, your level of desire versus satisfaction.
Regardless of what's happening outside. Okay. And then to really hammer this point home, the Buddha tells a story.
Yes, a Jataka tale, a story from one of his past lives, a really powerful fable.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So this story takes us way back. Himalayas, near the Ganges River, there's this big forest of fig trees home to thousands of parrots.
A parrot kingdom.
Pretty much. And their king, the parrot king, he was the embodiment of this supreme contentment, just completely satisfied.
So?
Well, even when the fruits on his own tree ran out, he didn't just fly off looking for a better tree.
No. What did he do?
He'd just eat whatever was left, shoots, leaves, even the bark, drink water from the Ganges, and he'd just stay there, perfectly content, never left that one spot.
That's intense dedication to one spot.
It is. And here's where it gets really interesting. His contentment, this virtue, was apparently so powerful it made the palace of Sakka shake.
Sakka, king of the gods.
That's the one. His celestial palace literally trembled because of this parrot's contentment down on Earth.
Oh, okay.
So Sakka, naturally curious, maybe a little concerned, decides he needs to test this extraordinary parrot. See if this contentment is for real.
How does he test him?
He uses his divine power to completely dry up the parrot's fig tree, the whole thing.
Oh, wow. That's harsh.
It is. The tree becomes this broken, hollow stump. The wind whistles through it, making these sad, mournful sounds. A pretty bleak picture.
So surely the parrot leaves now.
You'd think so, but no. The parrot king remained. He started eating the fine powder like wood dust that came out of the holes in the dry stump.
Eating wood dust.
Apparently so. Drank from the Ganges, sat right on top of that barren stump, didn't care about the wind, the sun, just refused to go anywhere else.
That's incredible resilience. Or maybe stubbornness.
Or profound contentment. So Sokka decides on a direct approach. He disguises himself as a magnificent swan king.
A swan.
Yeah, accompanied by the Azura princess Suja, who's a celestial figure herself. They fly into the forest, Sokka lands on a nearby tree, and challenges the parrot king directly.
What does he say?
He recites a verse, basically asking, look around. There are trees full of green leaves, tons of fruit everywhere. Why on earth is your mind so attached to this useless dry stump?
A fair question from Sokka's perspective.
Absolutely. And this moment, this challenge is so crucial. It really highlights the depth of true contentment.
How so?
It's not just about having little when times are okay. It's about being utterly satisfied with what is, even when things get incredibly harsh, when there's clearly a better option right there.
Right. The green trees are nearby.
Exactly. Sokka's test isn't happening in a vacuum. It proves that real virtue, real contentment, isn't shown when things are easy. It's proven in adversity. And the Parrot King's response, which isn't explicitly spelled out in terms of words in these sources, but is shown by his unwavering presence, it demonstrates this completely non-seeking, non-grasping mind.
He just stays.
He just stays. And this challenges our whole way of thinking about abundance and scarcity, doesn't it? The parrot wasn't just enduring hardship. He was simply being his contented self, regardless of the external conditions changing so drastically.
It really makes you pause. This idea that scarcity, faced with that mindset, isn't really scarcity anymore.
Precisely. It suggests that profound contentment isn't just accepting lack, but maybe even transforming it, finding an inner richness because of the external simplicity, perhaps. But it does raise the question, doesn't it? For us, today, living our lives, is that level of contentment even, well, conceivable or desirable? It pushes against our whole idea of progress and comfort.
It absolutely does. We're so geared towards more. Okay, so after painting this really vivid picture with the parrot story, the Buddha then connects it all back.
Seamlessly, yes. He brings the lesson right back to Nigamavāsitissattheravatthu and the monks sitting there.
How does he do that?
He reveals the identities from the past life.
Yeah.
He says that Sokka, the god who tested the parrot, was actually Ananda in a previous life, his chief disciple right there with him.
Ananda.
And the Parrot King, the one with that unshakable contentment,
Let me guess.
that was the Buddha himself.
Wow. Okay, that adds another layer entirely.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
So he then reiterates, see, contentment truly is my lineage, my tradition. It's like saying, this is who I am, this is what I teach.
It makes sense now why he praised Nigamavāsitissattheravatthu. But, it's one thing to say contentment is my lineage. For us, maybe hearing that, it could sound a bit like, well, resignation, or maybe lacking ambition. How do you draw the line between this kind of spiritual contentment and just sort of giving up on growth or improvement?
That's such an important distinction to make. And you're right, it could be misunderstood. This isn't about apathy or just passively accepting things. It's not stagnation. It's an active kind of contentment. It's about cultivating an inner abundance, a sense of enoughness that actually frees you from constantly chasing external things, from being dependent on circumstances for your peace.
So it's freeing, not limiting.
Exactly. The Buddha then points back to Nigamavāsitissattheravatthu and says, essentially, it's no wonder, really, having me as his teacher, it makes sense. He embodies this quality.
Right, he's following the lineage.
He is. And then the Buddha broadens it out. He declares that any monk should strive to be as content as Nigamavāsitissattheravatthu.
Any monk. So it's a universal principle for the path.
Yes. And he explains the profound outcome. For a monk who cultivates this kind of contentment, he says they cannot fall away.
Cannot fall away. From what?
From the core practices. From samasa, which is tranquility or meditative calm, and vipassana, which is insight, that deep wisdom, they can't lose the progress they've already made on the path.
Okay.
And they won't fail to attain what they haven't yet reached. Basically, their progress becomes unshakable.
Unshakable progress. That's powerful.
It is. And he adds, such a monk is close to nirvana.
Close to nirvana. What does that mean practically?
It means being near to extinguishing all the defilements, greed, hatred, delusion in this very life. And it also points towards ultimate liberation, the final release from all suffering and attachment.
So contentment isn't passive acceptance at all. It's actually fuel for the journey.
Absolutely. It's an active, mindful state that propels you towards that ultimate peace, towards nirvana. The Buddha links it directly to heedfulness being diligent and mindful. Contentment prevents the mind from getting constantly pulled away by external desires or fears.
Right, distractions.
Exactly. It lets you focus fully, intently on the path itself. And he seals this whole teaching with this powerful verse. A monk who delights in heedfulness or sees danger in heedlessness cannot fall away. He is close to nirvana.
Wow. So it all ties together: contentment, heedfulness, not falling away, being close to liberation.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
It shows contentment as a foundational quality for serious practice.
And what was the effect of this teaching on the monks who were actually there listening?
The impact was immediate and, well, profound. The texts say that right at the end of the discourse, Venerable Nigamavāsitissattthera himself, the monk whose actions started the whole conversation,
Yeah.
he attained arahantship, complete enlightenment, full liberation, along with analytical knowledge, that deep penetrating insight.
Just from that teaching.
Just from hearing that teaching and presumably having cultivated that quality already. And not just him, many others in the assembly listening also attained the initial stages of enlightenment, becoming stream enterers, for instance.
So the teaching was, as they say, greatly fruitful.
Immensely fruitful, yes, for everyone present.
Amazing. So from what looked like just a simple, maybe even odd, choice about where to get lunch, we've uncovered this incredible story. Deep contentment, unwavering resolve, and really a fundamental principle of the path to enlightenment.
Yeah.
The story of Nigamavātissa and that amazing Parrot King fable, they really remind us, don't they, that true wealth, real abundance, might not be about what we pile up externally.
Right.
But maybe it's about how deeply satisfied we can learn to be with what simply is.
Exactly. This whole deep dive, I think, really illustrates that the path to freedom, to that ultimate peace, often isn't about striving for more. It's about understanding, really embracing the richness that's already there and enough.
It leaves you with a thought, doesn't it? Maybe consider this. What if the things in our lives that feel like scarcity, the areas where we feel we're lacking,
Right.
what if meeting those very things with genuine, active contentment? What if that's actually the most direct gateway we have to a kind of inner abundance, a liberation that we can't even quite imagine right now?